All right. Welcome, everybody. Stone Fruit Roll Up, your Thursday weekly live show on LinkedIn and also on YouTube. You are watching the show about building the show that you're watching right now. This is our wildly experimental space, and today is no exception. Thank you, Saturn. Today is no exception. We have got a live show within a live show. One of my favorite things in the entire world are unexpected pieces of media to surprise and delight. I absolutely love a podcast within a podcast. And so today we're going to do a live show within a live show. But before we jump into the content of that, I just want to tell you a little bit about what this live show is about, what you can expect. I couldn't be any more proud and pleased to welcome to the Stone Fruit Roll Up my dear friend and colleague, Janine Payne. Janine and I have known each other for at least 5 years through, well, good Lord, probably longer than that, kind of orbiting around each other in entrepreneurial circles. And every time we've had a chance to reconnect, it has been like old home week for me and also I think for her. And so I knew that beyond a shadow of a doubt, Janine would be my number one candidate and pick to feature as the entrepreneur in residence on Business in the Raw. If you don't know what Business in the Raw is, that will definitely be our call to action today. Business in the Raw is the serialized season of brand building with one entrepreneur. So Janine and I sit down in the very beginning of episode 1 and start to create a new life and build a new brand for her. And I'm going to play a little promo for that. Just a little bit of a promo here, and we're going to try and see. Is on the brink of personal evolution. Janine is on the brink of personal evolution. That is me trying to record the beginning of a Business in the Raw, in which you have to say the line several times in order to get it right. So it is a labor of love and a skill level up for me, as much as it's a labor of love and a skill level up for Janine. Over the course of Business in the Raw, what we've learned, and I knew this before because Janine had mentioned how much she really wanted to do a podcast many times over our conversations, that coming onto a platform and using her voice to impact the world is something she absolutely wanted to do. And so today we're going to see a pilot episode of that effort. And Janine is going to take over the hosting chair, and I'm going to step back and play second violin and be your affable co-host. So without further ado, I would like to bring my friend and just my one of my business besties, always and forever, to the arena, Miss Janine Payne.
Hello.
I need a soundtrack that is like the laugh and the crowd entering you in. Saturn, maybe
Oh,
you can play around with some
I
sound
love
effects
it.
there for future episodes.
Saturn will be able to do just about anything. And I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for that awesome intro. And of course, yeah, Rebecca and I have been friends for several years. And actually, I was trying to do the math, and perhaps it's more like 8 years. I mean, who's counting?
And
But
perhaps it is more like 8 years. You're absolutely right. And here we are.
yeah, here we are on Soon Sunshine. This is our working title, and Rebecca and I, through the course of our branding of my VO business, we identified this just through conversation. Like we were talking, we're like, I don't know how it came up, Soon Sunshine, and then we said, oh my God, that would be a great name for. You said that would be a great name for a podcast, and
I think it
so
came out of positioning actually. And
ah.
soon, sunshine, this thing will happen. And
Yes.
then we just took it like, could sunshine be a proper noun, like like honey bunny or
Yes.
sweetheart? Soon, sunshine.
Moon sunshine.
It was the element that we hadn't discussed.
Yeah.
It was in your actually it was in core values
Yeah.
episode
Ah, okay. What's in core values?
8,
Okay.
which is one of my favorites. It came out of core values in which like, we had like hands in the soil,
Yes,
water, nutrient dense. We had all of the
absolutely.
stuff, but
Absolutely.
we needed sunshine.
That's
So
right.
Jill
Well,
is here, by the way, resident coach and business coach, and also business bestie. Miss Jill is here, coming in from London,
and
darling.
the fans go wild.
Hi,
Hey, Jill.
Jilly.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Well, yeah, it's great for you. I'm glad that you're here. And you mentioned Business in the Raw, Rebecca. Business in the Raw on Stone Fruit on YouTube, as well as I think you still can see it on LinkedIn, right?
You
I
still
think.
not yet, but
Ah,
we might premiere that for season
okay.
2. So
Well, check us
get
out.
with it. You're innovating right now.
Yes, we are. Exactly. So definitely check out Business in the Raw on YouTube, and you can see us in action. Where Rebecca literally is walking me through, along with a collaborative effort with Jill Motes and several other people. Just to help me I can't even call it rebranding. This is actually helping to launch a voiceover business. And part of that is using my voice. So I just like to say welcome again to Stone Fruit Podcast and to my inaugural appearance as host to Soon Sunshine, where girlhood to womanhood shines through our voice, yours and mine, your feedback, and our uplifting of women and girls together. My name is indeed Janine Payne. And as mentioned in part of I think one of our promos online, um, yeah, my 9 to 5 hustle is way behind me now. So, and my kids are grown. I've rediscovered my voice as a voiceover artist and exploring different ways to use my voice behind the mic, which a streaming platform allows. And as Rebecca mentioned, it's something I've wanted to do, but I'll tell you, this very first day, it makes you feel like, oh my God, there's a lot behind it, but it's something that we can achieve, and I know that I can do it, particularly with this powerhouse team behind me. Thank you, Rebecca, and to Saturn, and to everyone who's joined us today. um, One thing that my coach and copywriter guru Rebecca Gunter said is, and I'll paraphrase here, Janine, just follow your passion. As we were searching for topics and what do I want to talk about, and that's what I'm doing, getting my feet wet, um, and I'm feeling good. Boom, boom.
Woo.
Okay, we'll stop there. Well, okay, we'll stop.
Oh my, do not. You can't. We're not even 10 minutes in, and Nina Simone is here.
Hey, exactly. In the house, our sister, oh, Nina Simone. Yeah,
I know it.
we may be talking about artists in the future, perhaps, but today we want to talk about full life womanhood, full
Yeah.
life
What
womanhood.
does that mean actually?
Yeah, what does it mean? Today we're just going to explore what it means for a woman to live a full life. And listeners, I want you to start dropping in your comments right now. Don't wait to drop comments later. Like and share this video, please. But, I have to tell you, in preparing for this discussion, I ran across a journal article. The title is The Markers and Meanings of Growing Up, Contemporary Young Woman's Transition. Uh, Contemporary Young Woman's Transition from Adolescence to Adulthood. It's by Dr. Pamela Aronson, who is a sociology professor at the University of Michigan Dearborn. And perhaps in the future, maybe we'll have her join us. But she says that there are what's called social markers, and we know this, that are associated with transitions from adolescence to adulthood. And those often include full-time employment, educational attainment, establishing a household, in some cases getting married, and but certainly we know that history shows there's an effect on economy of achieving all those things, and perhaps we'll talk about that another day. But those are milestones, right? That we have claimed over time, to show success of that in that transition. But this too 2008 study by Dr. Aronson found that young women who come of age in the shadow of the women's movement experience a disconnection between those formal markers. And while becoming a parent and becoming financially independent, they were viewed as like universally um, natural. The young women in the study that they found that they sort of pushed back on that. That was in 2008, right? So, taken together with these findings, it suggests that young women who had supposedly become adults in the pivotal time of their life didn't always view these markers as an adult status. So, in fact, young women's their identities. This is a quote here, especially those of differing class backgrounds, this may be too complicated for the life course categories currently used to study the transition. So, as a result, she says, Dr. Aronson, we may need to adjust these formal transition markers in order to deepen our understanding of identity during this life. So, Rebecca, that's our launching point.
What's a trans? Let me back up and ask you, what's a transition marker?
A transition marker are those things that we have traditionally said were markers of an adult's life. And particularly, we're talking about young women, which is, getting a full time job, starting a family. Oh, no, getting married, starting a family, and all of those there's several others. So, those are the traditional and transitional markers. And
So
so,
what I'm hearing from you is in 2008 we were starting to call bullshit on all that,
your
and
eggs.
now it's 2023, and it's time to double down on our declaration of bullshit.
Yes, 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 yes. And wow.
Saturn was
So,
born in 2008, so we're really talking about a cultural change that has occurred over Saturn's lifetime.
wow. Okay. Saturn, yeah, you may serve as a guest on this show, whatever, in the future. Seriously, just to oh boy. You've heard Saturn before on this show, but to hear your perspective around this particular topic. Look, when I came up, as independent as we all were, I found myself married with two kids by the age of 32. Now, I didn't think that I was falling into what's considered a natural transition back then. But today, as I look back in my Sankofa moment, I realized that I did, without even knowing that, I was following that path. You know what I mean?
I didn't even know I had an option not to.
Yeah. Whoa.
I didn't
Speak
even
that
know
truth.
opting out was really a thing. I mean, like, I can imagine that, if you identify, you know, um, in some kind of way that's counterculture,
Yeah.
that it would feel like it wasn't an option. But I honestly did not even occur to me that the like trajectory that I was on was not a natural
Wow.
trajectory.
Wow.
And I had no idea. So I was kind of shocked when the curtain was pulled back, and I recognized this very recent movement away from these traditional adulthood markers,
Yeah.
and to be like, actually, we have other options.
Oh my God.
Um, so
Wow.
if I was feeling that in 2000, I got married in 2006.
Okay.
That if I was feeling that in 2006, I know people were feeling that for a long time beforehand, and I celebrate the option
Yeah.
that we have now.
Whoa. I love that. Celebrate the option. That should we should I was gonna say tweet this, but no, let's just drop that into the into the chat because there's no longer a tweet that. So but yeah, celebrate the options. I love that. Because to be honest with you, um we need to celebrate all the changes, the transitions that women go through, but without tying them to any particular sort of natural transition. I think it's that natural element that has really gets to me. What's natural anymore? What's natural is what comes natural to you, right? I mean, and in the midst of our, finding ourselves. Okay, think about me. I am now a woman who is now retired. Like I mentioned earlier, my kids are grown, and doing some new things in my life, and I feel like I'm like, I don't know, 20, 25 again, and it's basically because it's a mindset. And so at my age, and I may share that on another episode. I don't know.
I'll disclose my age is 52.
All right. Well, bravo. And I am 10 years older than she is. So
Gia, my bestie is also 10 years older than me. So
really,
there's
oh,
a reason I adore you, and that's one of them. Just one.
oh,
One
I adore
seedling
you.
in my adoration.
I love that. Thank you. So yeah, at 62, and I'm not at all ashamed. I love, I love everything about aging. Yeah. Are there times when to get out of a chair that I've been sitting in for about an hour, I got to get up and do a few other moves? Absolutely, but that comes with the territory. But for the most part, being able to live and embrace life in the way that we all desire, yeah, there's something to celebrate about that. There's freedom, in that.
Let me ask you a question though,
Yeah.
since you are 10 years my senior. I've been hearing that there's something around menopause that gives women the moxie to rip up their resume and start again, or to, there's just something about maybe even being pulled out of the genetic
Yeah.
gene pool that, like, at the DNA level,
Yeah.
kind of was like, okay, I no longer have to center men. I no
Yes.
longer have to worry about the male gaze. I no longer have to align myself with cultural expectations, what my mother thinks I should do. I've heard that. Do
Yeah.
you do you think that's true? Is there any validity to that observation?
I know that it's true, and I feel that it has a lot to do with our hormones, the changes in our hormones, the age. When we reach a certain age, we also know there's a level of freedom that you have, no longer needing to appeal to a man, let's say, in the way that we perhaps used to when we were younger, based on the media that we were receiving, the books that we were reading, what we were hearing from our, other, and honestly, and our ancestors. I'm all about ancestors and taking what we can. Take what we can, what works from what our ancestors have shown us and taught us, and find what works for us. And by the time you reach menopause, you're at a point where it's like, oh, I got this shit. I can do this. I can do this, and I can do it on my own terms as well. I do think that has a lot to do with, but definitely our hormones have shifted. Now, for certain women, I know women of color, African Americans, for instance, we are in a menopause pause stage, of postmenopause, for 10 years longer than the average woman of other ethnicity.
Really? Is
Yeah,
that right?
yeah, that's true. But so,
Why?
I mean, what I don't know, but you know what? Some of it has to do with socioeconomic factors. It has to do the impact of just, I'll just say, society in general, because you're not only dealing with the hormonal imbalance, but you're also dealing with the effects of, or the symptoms, which are also the mental health issues that you're dealing with. So we're feeling it at a different level. And I wish I had my data in front of me and I could show it to you. But indeed, that is true. But that doesn't mean that we're um, lost as a result of it. What it means is, with that knowledge, you move forward, and knowing that, okay, I may have some of these effects later on in my life. This is why, okay, bandwagon, here we go. This is why it is important that at a young age, just recently, I was privy to have a conversation with an outstanding integrative health physician by the name of Dr. Ariana Scholes, and she focuses on educating women from at least the age of 35 through the trajectory of, through postmenopause. And the reason for that is, first of all, there are, it's early menopause that women can start, because we always say menopause as if all of these the symptoms that we may go through may or may not, that it begins at age 50. That is so not true. So, because we're looking at if you look at the stages of menopause, from there is perimenopause, right? That can begin around age 40. However, at 35 years old, there could be issues, just health conditions that that require surgery that perhaps may put you into early menopause. So, a lot of the effects that you're having in your body are as a result of that change that happened, let's say at 35, which is why she starts earlier. 35, then 40, perimenopause, right? And then menopause at around age 50. But then there's postmenopause, and ta-da, that's where I am now. And I'm still feeling good. But when you think about that trajectory and what's happening to our bodies hormonally, what's happening to us on a mental health level, and also, let's say, to add to that is the fact that unfortunately, physicians are not taught in medical school about menopause. There may be a chapter or two, but it is a known
Whew.
fact
Do
that
we
there's,
have 2 hours on this live to
oh
talk
my,
about how little,
oh,
how disregarded women's health is all across the board,
all
menopause or
across.
not?
That's right. So when you present with a condition, and it could be a mental health concern, you said, I can't seem to figure things out. I'm slow here. It could be the fog that we know is present in at a stage of menopause. But often the clinicians are not making connections. So you present a way, they're not saying, oh, you know what? You know what? Let me take a look at your numbers. So often women present before a doctor will then begin to further investigating whether or not they are in menopause. They're what's called FSH numbers, and I wish I had the full term. Somebody out there probably knows it, FSH, what that stands for, but it helps to determine where what your hormone levels are at the time, and that helps, but that's not the only factor. Usually, the factor that gets doctors moving is how we present to them. So my message today would be, if you're dealing with something between that age of 35 and on and further, talk to your doctor about stages of menopause and ask, could that possibly be what I'm dealing with? I know one example of a woman who was dealing with, well, I don't think she knew it, was postpartum, because many women are deciding, it's great to have a choice, is are deciding to have children later in life. So she was about 40, 39 years old. Well, around that same time frame, she was also dealing with perimenopause. So with perimenopause, and then what we believe today is was postpartum. Those, just a combination of those two factors together, is enough to make you feel like you are losing your freaking mind. And if your physician is not paying attention and making the connection, of course you're seeking therapy and say, oh yeah, we know, perhaps you need to see a therapist, whatever. But it's usually coming from us, not them. And I'm not trying to put the heavy all on the physicians. What I'm doing, I hope is employing women to start thinking, could this possibly be what I'm dealing with? And let me present myself that way to my clinician. Let me say, can we start talking about the effects of perimenopause or menopause, depending on your age? So um yeah, there's a
I was at a women's circle this weekend, which is not something I normally would do, but I have some crunchy granola friends who I'm happy to tag, be the plus one at any kind of just thing that they want to go to. I called it the witch and bitch. Anyway, it reminded me of Girl Scouts for grown-ups because it had rituals and there was a little poem and you did a reading and people took turns, etc.
oh,
But the conversation was around getting older, so that was the theme for fall.
love
And
it.
there was a woman there who was about 70, and she said that, we, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, that like pivotal,
Yeah.
menstruation starter book for girls that was written by Judy Blume. It came out like in the
Yeah, I think 70s. Yeah,
70s,
I
maybe,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
And how much of a game changer that was, that like now menstruation is in the public discourse. This woman had such a powerful observation. She said, I wish there was something like that for menopause.
Oh,
Be- because it does seem like, your menstruation oncoming feels like, or is talked about like this just kind of not a cataclysm, but just like this like event, like a big bang event. and
Yes,
you didn't have it, and now you do. You couldn't conceive, and now you could. You didn't have your period, but now you do. And then you just kind of move forward, just like now I have my period, so
that's
I'm
it.
officially a woman. With menopause, especially as you're talking about it, and this kind of like long black veil that is like before and after, because it's not this like cataclysmic like life event in which you're irrevocably changed like in an instant.
Yeah,
It's hard to parse what's the difference between, what I'm feeling right now. Is that menopause, or am I burnt out?
that's
Is
right.
that menopause, or is just the relentless obligations of being a woman in the world today
Yes.
me out? Is, do I have brain fog, or is it dementia? Like,
Yeah. No,
there's a lot to consider.
and you know what? You are spot on, and I think, again, as you say, this is why it's important for us to be informed. And the doctor I mentioned, and I added her book, a link to her book, in on Amazon, and I couldn't move fast enough to go to her website and just pull it in from her website. But her name is Dr. Ariana Scholes, and the name of her book is, let's see, the Menopause Myth: What Your Mother, Doctor, and Friends Haven't Shared About Life After 35. And I have to tell you, it is a phenomenal book because she addresses, it actually goes beyond just menopause, but as a result of our stages, that we're going through. She discusses what's really happening with our bodies at these various stages, and our and symptoms, but also she has an empowering message that this is not the end for us. And she talks about estrogen treatment, and how important it is for you to have the discussion with your clinician earlier on, because a lot of women are afraid to get estrogen due to the Women's Health Study of, I know I'm going to get the year wrong, 1997, I think, or something, where they the result was that women were afraid to use estrogen because of the cancer, with the fear of cancer. But so I'm going to try to put this in a nutshell. It's the timing of when you get estrogen. It's not that estrogen is bad. It's the timing for when you get it. Like for me, when I'm finally in menopause, it's I believe it's a little too late. But earlier on in my life, I would have benefited from it. Listen to this. Since we're talking about menopause, I,
Hmm.
okay,
I mean, that's part of a full life, right?
it what isn't it a part of a full life? It
I
totally is. And I used to sing in choirs and kinds of things. I didn't even know I was going through mental health. Now, yeah, my background is in mental health. I didn't know I was going through menopause, which affected my mental health. Um,
Yeah.
and it does. And it does, and it can. And for some women, it's even, it truly is no laughing matter. But I found myself perspiring all the time. And if anybody watches this, either either now or in the future, and you saw me on stage or platform perspiring with a little hanky, you know uh that's exactly what was going on.
I
And
thought
we
it was a second line. You were just there.
and so yeah, so I was tested for thyroid issues and all types of things, but that's what the heck was going on with me. Didn't know it.
I've
Didn't.
heard that those hot flashes, I read an interesting article about it actually earlier this week, feel like an anxiety attack.
Yeah, it does.
Is how they come on, and then to come down from that is it's like trying to force a bumblebee away from a I don't know, I'm making
Oh,
that up, but
no,
like
I love that. Yeah.
it's like you just it's not something you can just be like, okay, cool down, like stop panicking, like it's all good. And if we don't have the words for it or the articulation or know what to expect,
Yes. What do you do? What
what do you
what
do?
what do you do? And I'm going to drop another resource into to be shared with others. The North American Menopause Society. That the Menopause Society is, you can identify a nurse practitioner or other clinicians that have a proper certification in the space of menopause. And so the name of the so the website is menopause.org, and I'll drop that in like right now. And a lot of people don't know about it, but if you find, if you've been searching and you just aren't getting the results that you want, or even before then, and so this is because we're employing women even before you start to get symptoms around age 35, start checking this out. Like I said, menopause.org, great resources, menopause guidebook, sexual health modules, videos, and they have information for professionals and for women. But in particular, they have a search element of their website where you literally can search by state and identify a practitioner that has a specialty in menopause. So, very important.
Well, now that we know that one, we don't have to adhere to the same terrible, okay, that's condition. Let me backtrack there. Now that we no longer have to adhere to what we thought we had to adhere to, which
Mm,
were traditional markers of adulthood, and we've
yeah,
been able to pull the veil off that curtain, and now
yeah,
that we understand how deeply impactful menopause can be,
yeah.
and you can leverage that towards your own empowerment, but you don't have to be in menopause in order to rewrite your chapter, rewrite your
Ah,
what's going on.
bravo.
That leads us really into the idea of what is full fat womanhood. What is that, and
Yeah.
how do we get it? What is
How
it, and
do,
how do we get it?
what is it? I feel that full fledged womanhood is, in my humble opinion, is that IHO? What is that? Um,
It is IHO.
in my IHO, it is as I am today, embracing your life for what, identifying what it is you want for your life. And if that means seeking counseling, if it means seeking a coach like Rebecca Gunter, um, who can help guide you through your ideas, if it's entrepreneurship, help guide you through those ideas and really help you build capacity in an area of interest. And that go and it doesn't need to happen once you retire from your 9 to 5. You can be pursuing it while you're still pursuing your 9 to 5, while you're still doing whatever you're doing. So that's one way, figuring out what it is. What else do I want to do in life? And perhaps you then will ditch your regular 9 to 5, over time, and really pursuing your full life, while you still, I mean, God, while you're still just breathing. Because at any point of our lives, look, I'm 62 years old, and I feel as though not only am I starting over, but in a good way, but also, um, but also, Rebecca knows where that comes from. Um, and if anybody has watched the movie Elf, that's where it comes from. Um, so, but yeah, identifying what I want to do in my life, where I see myself going, and just starting to pursue it. Find your people. How do you do that? I don't have that answer, but start speaking up, using your voice. And I'm not shared this with Rebecca and several other people. I'll be honest. I feel that I lost my voice somewhere in the midst of, yes, raising a family, but even before that, married. My husband was in the Air Force, and I 20 years retired. I loved the lifestyle. I loved him. I mean, the whole bit. But you don't realize what you're giving up in some cases until later in life. And I'm asking, and to your question, a full life woman, what full life womanhood is, start asking yourself the questions now. Is this what
and
I really want to do?
I would say we come by that identity crisis honestly.
Yeah.
It is not like you hit a midlife crisis and you're looking for your purpose.
Yeah.
It is like from the minute you come out of the womb, the messaging that assaults your very being, from how your aunties talk to you to how what it's represented on television, for what you see in the toy store,
Yeah.
for how cartoons are made,
Yep.
what it looks like in magazines, every single girl in America
Yeah,
has been beaten over the head with the idea that the most fullest expression of themselves in their lives is to be
yes,
a wife and a mother.
and a mother.
That even, I mean, if you like Mother's Day, actually, as a mother, Mother's Day gets on my fucking
Oh,
nerves
I believe. Oh my God,
because
I know
because the message is relentlessly sacrifice.
it is
How
every.
much you do for us, how much you sacrifice, how much you're willing to just give over to just the goodness of being in servitude
Yeah, that's
to
right.
your husband and to your family.
That's
And
right.
so when that is no longer your reality,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, you could have been the happy yourself just a few minutes ago. I love that life. I love being married. I love my husband.
Yeah,
Love being a mom. I loved all of that. But when that is no longer your everyday reality,
that's right.
what a record scratch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, perhaps my grandmother or my grandmother's grandmother might have said a full life for a woman is being a wife and a mother, sacrificing your identity and your very existence in the
Yeah.
servitude of your family. And that is the highest honor and your
Yeah.
fullest expression of being a woman.
Yeah.
And you're disrupting that idea, Janine,
Yeah. Hey,
and saying that is not what a full life is for women. It is part of it if you want it,
if you
but
want it, thank you.
it's not your full life. Go
No, it
spin
isn't.
off about that, girl. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, I mean, but totally yes. It is if it's what you want, I don't think anyone in this space are saying or denying any woman because that's honestly, we're supporting that choice, a woman's choice, always and forever. That's just a PSA. Um,
that's just that's just I said what I said.
exactly. I said what I said, and I mean what I said. But truly, if it's what you want. However, as you pointed out, Rebecca, often, the messages are coming to us left and right that this is who you should be. You should be the sacrificial, sort of mom or sister or auntie, but is that who you really want to be? And I say I contend that again, only if you want. I know I keep repeating that because, and I would love for people to drop. If you have any comments in this space, please drop in. How have you felt if you are a mother or an auntie, a sister, and you felt put upon, based on people's assumptions about who you are, just basically because of your gender or your position, in life. How do you feel about that? I'll say for me, yeah, there are times like Mother's Day. Yes, I love the doting on, but for my kids, I always told them keep the gifts to a minimum, keep all of that to the minimum. My everyday with you is the celebration. That's how I want to celebrate. But the every time you turn a page of a book of a magazine and you feel as if is this how I should be representing myself? Now, that's not to say there are a lot of total women empowerment movements as well as resources that are supporting the full woman, the full-fledged woman. I support that 100%, but not the assumption that we have to be something that society says that we are. That's
I
long gone.
I know you have some resources to share with our audience. And I just wanted to give an example of how pervasive and how this kind of shows up. I think
Yeah.
it's not necessarily that you're opening a magazine and it's saying, "Be in center men, be sacrifice yourself for your children."
Uh,
It is so subtle.
subtle.
For example, I just somehow am in this like grandma's recipes group on not group but like just the feed on Facebook. So it'll
Yeah,
be like,
yeah.
like crock pot this and like one dish wonders
I love
and
it. Yeah.
make it blah blah blah. I didn't realize it took me probably a year of being like in this group to recognize that of 5 posts with recipes, and that's literally what it is, a
Wow.
recipe,
Yeah.
every maybe 1 out of 5 were not like this, and the rest of them read, "Every time I make this, my husband goes back for seconds."
Wow.
My husband has been begging me to make this every single night. When I pack lunch for my husband, it's this. The word, like the assumption that the woman is doing the cooking, and the
Yes.
assumption that the it is her sole responsibility to not only come up with what's for dinner,
Yeah,
but then source the ingredients for what's to dinner,
absolutely.
and then make sure that it absolutely appeals to his taste.
That's right.
All three of those things are your job,
That's
and
right.
that language reinforces that messaging without saying
Without
this
saying
is
it.
your job. Yeah.
Exactly. I, Rebecca, I love that point. I found something and I have a note here and I just got to find it. And but I'll speak to it. I was perusing LinkedIn and a woman, she posted, she, happy about, she's going to be getting married soon. So I read part of the post and she says that it's been officially 1 month out from their wedding. But the reason why she was posting is because she wanted to share a few comments that she's received since they've been engaged, right? And it's more of a DEI, diversity sort of
Hmm.
discussion. However, but it relates to exactly what you said. It's the assumptions that people have about either your relationships or who you are in that relationship, right? And how very subtle it is, and the assumptions that people make. So one of the comments was, his hair is so long and feminine, does it bother you? And then she said her thought was, do we really need to gender hair? She said, if in anything, she said, I'm jealous mine doesn't grow as long. Then, but it was one other comment here.
Assumptions about masculinity and femininity, and
Thank you.
also that the feminine is bad news.
Thank you.
Does that
Oh,
bother you?
oh my God.
Translation, does that threaten your idea about who a man is supposed to be? And
That's
because
right.
you're engaged to him, aren't you questioning whether or not that's actually valid and legitimate? So it's
Yes.
entering fear into the equation,
Yeah. Ooh.
which is gross.
Yeah. It's gross. I mean, it's totally. It's. Hmm. It's gross, and often you don't even have women. You got to be on your toes when the stuff comes at you to be able to push back, right, and say no, that's not for me, or to make that reply to, if it's someone in your family or a friend who makes that right, sort of comment, and it's somewhat of a dig, but they're chuckling along like his hair is so long and feminine, doesn't it, but what does that mean? And often it takes us off guard, right? Often we don't know what our reply should be, and I wish I had like a real quick sort of what, well, I could say
I
something, but
wished I'd said.
I,
I mean, I wish the motherfucker would.
that's what I exactly. I wish you would look. I remember someone else wrote in this particular another comment about don't you know your life is your role is to make his life easier. Don't nag him, and it's okay to let him take credit for things, even if you did it. And her thought to that was, she was like, exactly. It's like you can. She said maybe don't assume people's religion first of all. So it's so much in these comments. And she said, and before handling, and this is a quote, before handing out unsolicited marriage advice, she said also, she said, husband or not, I will not let a man take credit for my work to boost his ego. But those sort of foundational or structural or
Ideology
ideology,
and
it's
value.
they're still there, and they're still there. Listen, Rebecca, this is 2023. I, you know, women in 1979 said the same thing. This is 1979. But the same shit is going on. The same, it's
and
still
and
happening.
also a battle within yourself. I think, Janine, we can't just not acknowledge that.
Yeah, you're right.
I would say I've spent the last 2 years deconstructing myself from the patriarchy, and part of that is
Yep.
being honest about my own internalized misogyny, my own internalized fucked up views.
Yes.
For example, when I first moved into this house, I had to get internet put in, and I was here by myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh Lord, I'm gonna internet. I'm here by myself." So I put on my wedding ring, which I haven't worn in like 5 years. So I put
Yes.
my wedding ring on to at least one give myself some sort of
Yeah.
level of protection, which is
Yes.
fucked up.
Yeah. Don't
That's
trust.
fucked up.
Trust.
That I already have to be like, they're coming to install the internet. I better put on my wedding ring
Yep.
so no one does anything shady.
That's right.
That's already what you're thinking. And then what happened was, and I can bitch about that and write a feminist article and soapbox. As soon as I put that wedding ring on my finger, I felt legitimate.
Did you?
Legitimate.
I,
Take it off, not legitimate. Put it on, legitimate. That is a deconstruction of the deepest level that's
yes.
internalized within
Yes.
me. So I can
Yes.
be like,
Oh,
yeah, and then this food group, they're always saying cooking for your husbands, and we can be like, yeah, girl, rallies 2023.
exactly.
Deconstruct it within yourself.
With-
Recognize that you also are,
Ooh.
the call is coming from inside the house.
Oh, what? The call is coming from inside the house. Listen, answer it. Answer the call.
Don't answer it.
Yeah,
Don't answer
don't answer it. Yeah, you know what? Now you actually make an excellent point, and I'll tell you, and for our viewing audience, my husband passed several years ago, right? 2 years ago. I make it sound like it's been 10, and it hasn't. Um, but so I was still wearing my wedding ring, and a lot of it's just out of hey, it was just who I was. Never took it off, and some people take theirs off at night, and I always wondered about that. I'm just not that kind of person. I would forget, to put it on, which probably wasn't really a bad thing. But anyway, so wore the ring forever, and then after within the first year and a half, I just recently over the last 4 or 5 months have removed my wedding ring because, you know, I'll tell you a wake up. Well, I had a wake up call, and it was like, well, who are you? And it was during tax season. I try to file my taxes early. I thought, and I'll make this quick, I thought that I still had another year to file um, married. I think that's what it was. And my tax preparer, she was just breaking it down. She goes, "No, that was within your first year. And if anybody's listening and you're going through the same thing, really check out the laws around that because I think within the first year you still can file married. But because in this society, you get greater tax breaks when you are. But um, it was a wake up call. It's like that's right. You're you're not married anymore, and took the ring off, and I still can see you know s- the the band, where the band was, but it was freeing because it also was an acknowledgement from within that you're evolving because the time was right to remove it. But there was a part of me that I still enjoyed. Obviously, I felt closer to my husband at the time, but I still felt as though, there was some belonging there. I was still, and that was not at all the case. So I agree with you. Look inside first and decide this is not for me, and it doesn't have to be for me, even if you have someone coming to fix your plumbing, because I know what that's like. Do you know within the first month or so, I had to have some work done of the house after my husband passed. And do you know I placed a pair of his shoes near the front door?
I'm in this group for women called Girl Camper, and an old women traveling alone will carry an old pair of man's work boots and put them outside the camper.
I believe it. I
And
believe it.
for good reason. Like we can say why that's fucked up all we want, but
Yep.
like
Hey, but for good reason. Because don't forget, it may be 2023, but guess what? We are still living in a patriarchal society where men are ranked as, hey, you better not come here. I'm gonna beat your, behind. Don't touch this woman. Don't, the garter, the protector, and you feel as though without those boots that you feel somewhat vulnerable. That's real.
the fucked up thing is though, who are we protecting ourselves from? The people who claim to be providers and protectors.
Yet, okay. Whoa.
Have
Bum.
you heard this? Like, look, I'm gonna go for it at 49 minutes into our live stream. A man's biggest fear is that a woman will laugh at him.
I've
A
heard that.
woman's biggest fear is that a man will kill her. I mean, that
Okay.
if that doesn't illustrate the
Wow.
disparity in society and
Wow.
why we need an old pair of work boots when the plumber comes over.
That's right.
That's
And
not living a full life
no,
womanhood, I'll tell
no,
you that.
you know what? It's not living a full life womanhood, but however, we are aware enough, we're astute enough, we are woke enough to know sometimes you got to put a pair of shoes at the door because you don't want to be messed with. I mean,
And sometimes you want to
right?
put a wedding ring on when the cable guy
When
comes
the
over.
cable exit. Same. And again, I would love to hear anybody who's watching this. Have you ever done any of these things or anything else where it, because you knew that there's a message there that's being communicated to that person walking in your door? You don't know him from Adam's cat. That's my mom used to say. I can't believe that. I can't believe I can't believe I said that. But really, you don't know them from anyone, and you feel okay. This is a way to sort of fame them off, if you will. But yeah, that's very real,
It's very real. It's kind of like I know how to play the game. I know the game we're in, and I know how to play it.
and I know how to
And this
play
is
it.
my chip
That's right.
right now.
And there's nothing
But you
wrong.
have to be aware of it, though. I think
You have to be aware of it. I got this crazy piece of hair that just keeps. Uh, uh,
getting on your nerves. I have these
yeah,
little ants. Yesterday, I had a little ant in my car, and it
yeah.
kept crawling up the inside. I thought it was a thread or an ant.
Ah, the worst. Yeah. And then
That burns my business.
when you realize it's a bug and you just go crazy. It's like, I'm not gonna do it right now. I'll knock the mic out of here. You're like, just you feel it and and you just brush it a little bit, and it turns out it's a doggone ant. But yeah, but that awareness, that's still a smart thinking, and there's nothing wrong with it. But the realization is that it's effed up.
Well, that leads me to my next question. Even though you're the host, I do have
Yeah.
another question for you.
Yeah.
Why is it so important to you to be like it's more than just the a Condé Nast cover to you,
Hmm.
meaning like a travel brochure of full life womanhood.
Yeah,
That's more than just a travel brochure. It's really important to you at a community level.
it is.
Can you talk about why you care so much?
Yeah, because first of all, we have one life to live. And as women, we need to be exploring how we want to live that life so that we can contribute and give to others, um, with our full self, authentically. And the only way, not one of the ways, the only way to do it is to know who the heck you are so that you can give fully, and that means on every level, not following the traditions, identifying what tradition means to you. I want to give back. I give back uh, through friendships, relationships, through gardening, sharing of food, and so many other ways to my friends, family, because I've identified that those are the things that I truly enjoy doing. That's my community and my community connection. That's how and I'm able to maintain it, and that keeps me fresh and healthy. And yeah,
Why does the world need that? Beyond what Janine likes, why does
yeah.
the world need us to embrace this concept?
What the world needs now is love, sweet love.
Is it sub?
I know
Bacon, cheese, mayonnaise, and hot peppers.
exactly. But joy. Why do we need it? For our inner joy, our inner peace, our
Living in joy is the thing for you.
it is
It's the thing. Talk about what that living in joy means,
living in joy.
or how to do it. Tell me how to do it, Janine.
Okay,
I really want to live in joy. I need
well,
the step by step instructions.
well, you crack open the book first, and then you know. But it
This is
is
the good book.
it is the good book, really. And for me, joy is, for me, my love of God. I believe God is joy. And I also I believe that everything that I do in my life should be uh i- i- in line with, when people say, what would Jesus do? I had to ask myself that question just several days ago. But and for not everyone, is there that connection between God and Christ, but for me it is. And I think about it often. How can I give back, or in a situation that I'm struggling with? I think about what would Jesus do in this case. I know sometimes I just want to blast somebody up, but think about how I want to approach the situation. But it is joy is sustainability to me. It's a method for sustaining a life of fullness, um, is sustainability for being able to continue to give back, because what you give back, I believe that is brought back to you. I really do. Um, yeah, so I can say much more. Then my how many? Well, okay, I shouldn't be looking at a clock. Oh no, I should. So, but
You
those
should,
things.
because you hostess with the mostest, because you're gonna
I
be
know.
wrapping up this show, and
Well,
you're on your 5 minute countdown.
well, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But that's what it means to me. I would love to know what joy means to you, Rebecca, and also to anyone who's viewing right now.
Wow, good question. Joy to me is, oh, that's really, is sovereignty.
Mm,
So not being dependent on anyone or anything in order for me to have options.
mm-hmm.
So that makes me tremendously happy. Intimacy, I chase intimacy
Oh,
through my friendships, business relationships, personal, and often, they're between. Hardly any of my friends aren't entrepreneurial, but um, intimacy in relationship and conversation, and I think that comes across here and also in business and
good.
the raw. And then I fucking love process. Like I really love
Yeah.
taking like this kind of, just like cold bowl of spaghetti and turning it into something else. I love to work within constraints. So one of my favorite creative endeavors in the entire world is like cook the best dinner you can out of what's currently here and do not go to the store.
I love it.
Like sometimes that's, I call it guerrilla cooking. Sometimes it's a little bit, sometimes it's a lot. So starting with this kind of space and pushing my elbows creatively against as
Mm,
much of it as I can, and creating the most like kind of different or elevated or avant-garde or disruptor version of what
yeah.
anyone else could do with the same set of constraints. That brings me joy. Intimate relationships, certainly with my family, my friends, and my business colleagues, and having sovereignty. So no
Mm,
one is in front of any of my options.
I
Those
love
bring
it.
me joy. And you, Janine Payne, you bring me joy.
Oh, you bring me joy. And if you all, if you are searching for, joy, look within. Find what it is that you really desire to do, and believe that you can achieve it. You identify your group of people that really that you can put your arms back. But I don't know. I forgot how Rebecca said that, but I just imagine sort of an embracing of self by knowing who your people are, knowing who you are, and then seeking it out. Read up on it. If you want to start a new career, or while you're already working, identify what it is you think you want to do. Try it out. I mean, for me and voiceovers, I had started in this space a few years ago. And fortunately, I had the opportunity to meet up with Rebecca Gunter, who actually is helping me shape this business, the Janine Sound Experience. Um, and it's another way for me to be able to use my voice, a voice that I really do. I now realize that I'd lost over several years. Yeah. So
Use your voice box. How
that's
can
right.
people find you using your voice box?
Well, you can find me on Facebook on Janine_Payne. You can find me on Instagram, Janine_Payne. You can also find me on Business in the Raw, which is on YouTube. And am I missing something? And at Rebecca Gunter.
I
No.
don't. I actually am not there yet. I will be, fam. I will be
Okay.
getting my profiles up together, and you can still find us at 100 TV. It's
Oh,
still,
yes,
it's still,
100
we're still,
TV.
we're still kind
Yes.
of over there a little bit. So,
Thanks to
um,
Ross Brand.
yeah, and shout out to Ross Brand
Yep.
indeed.
You better believe it.
If folks were interested in your voiceover services, why would they go with you?
Thank you. That is a great question. If you're interested in my voiceover services, I feel that going with me will give you the heart and soul of what you're searching. The audiences that I can reach with my voice comes from the heart. Studying the material to a depth or degree that of understanding who your audience is and doing that research, so that not only do the words convey your message, but the heart also conveys the message. Um, uh, yeah, it's all about being able to work with you, my client, and because sometimes you may be seeking and you don't realize that what you need is a voiceover artist, and you want to sit down and actually have a conversation with someone who has the skill like me, and then I can identify, work with others on my team to identify your positioning statement, identifying um, your script. We do the read. We may do a podcast for you. So there are many arms and legs to what we can offer you that may feel and look a little different than what you would get ordinarily.
In the age of AI, sis, there's never been a more important time to find the realest of the real,
That's
because if you
right.
want your messaging to absolutely resonate,
That's
you're gonna need somebody that people can connect with, and that is my girl Janine for sure.
ah,
So
thank
you
you.
take us out, lady. This is your show.
Oh wow. So taking us out, the Janine Sound Experience embraces you. I hope to see you next time, either on September 21st. Next time September 21st or September 28th, and you'll learn later which date that will be. And visit us on Business in the Raw. If you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me at the Janine Collective at gmail.com. If you want to reach Rebecca Gunter, you reach her at
Rebecca at RebeccaGunter.com, or
okay,
Rebecca.Gunter at stonefruit.com,
there
or Stonefruit, or LinkedIn, or all the things.
exactly. Oh, and LinkedIn. You can also reach me on LinkedIn. Please do. Please reach out. And if you're taking a look at this, let us know what you think. And I'm really excited, to be to have this opportunity on this platform with my good buddy Rebecca and her girl Saturn, who's in the background making everything happen. One other thing I dropped in as a resource is also building your wealth financially, something we didn't talk about on this in this session, but we will hopefully in the future.
We will put all of those delicious links in the show notes. And I
Ah,
know at least one or two people who might be willing to come on board here and talk us about empowering yourself financially. So I
that's
look
great.
forward to your next future episode in the end of September.
Yeah, the end of September. Yeah, that's probably easier said. Easy end of September versus trying to identify a date, but that's the way it is.
We'll
And
get there,
folks,
man.
this is live. The Stone Fruit Roll Up is live with Rebecca Gunter, Janine Payne, Saturn in the background, and taking care of business. Oh yeah, what does that really mean? It doesn't mean we rock.
Well,